Radha Vihari Jaya Gopi Tanavara Srivara Jaya Gopi Tanavara Hari Yashodanandana Varadanarandana Yashodanandana Varadanarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Vihari Radha Madhava Vihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Jai. Good morning, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, verse 47. Chapter 47, verse 59. Vemastriyavanacharya vyabichara dushta Krishne kvachaisa paramatmani rudhabhava Nanvishvaro nubhajato virushopi sakshak Treyastanota gadaraja ivopayukta Vemastriyo vanacharya vyabichara dushta Krishne kvachaisa paramatmani rudhabhava Nanvishvaro nubhajato vidushopi sakshat Shreyastanotya gararaja ivopayukta. Synonyms: kva, where, in comparison; ima, these; striya, women; vana, in the forest; chari, who wander; vyabhichara, by improper behavior; dushta, contaminated; krishne, for Krishna; kva, cha, and where; esha, this; parama atmani, for the Supreme Soul; rudha bhava, stage of perfect love known technically as Mahabhava; Nanu, certainly; Ishvara, the personality of Godhead; Anubhajata, to one who constantly worships him; Avedusha, not learned; Api, even though; Sakshat, directly; Sreya, the highest good; Tanoti, bestows; Agada, of medicines; Raja, the king, namely the nectar which the demigods drink for long life; Eva, as if; Upayukta, taken. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. How amazing it is that these simple women who wander about the forest, seemingly spoiled by improper behavior have achieved the perfection of unalloyed love for Krishna, the Supreme Soul. Still, it is true that the Supreme Lord himself awards his blessings even to an ignorant worshiper, just as the best medicine works even when taken by a person ignorant of its ingredients. Purport. The use of the word kva in the first two lines indicates a sharp contrast between apparently incompatible items, in this case, the apparently insignificant and even impure position of the gopis, mentioned in the first line, and their attainment of the highest perfection of life, mentioned in the second. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti describes three types of adulterous women. The first is a woman who enjoys both her husband and a lover, being faithful to neither. Super abominable. Both ordinary society and the scriptures condemn this conduct. The second type of adulterous woman is she who abandons her husband to enjoy only with her lover. Also abominable. Society and the scriptures also condemn this behavior, although such a fallen woman may be said to at least have the good quality of dedicating herself to a single man. The last kind of adulterous woman is she who abandons her husband and enjoys in the attitude of being a lover of the Supreme Lord alone. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that although foolish, common people criticize this position. Such behavior is commended by those who are wise in spiritual science. Therefore, learned members of society and the revealed scriptures praise such single-minded devotion to the Lord. Such was the gopis' behavior. Thus the term vyabhichara dushta, corrupted by deviation, indicates the apparent resemblance between the gopis' behavior and that of ordinary adulterous women. Please join me in praying. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Janandana Chalakaya Chakshuru Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upagaram Mayam Dadadishva Parantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yura Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagradatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsta Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabhanu Sudhe Devi Pranamami Hari Pre Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamine Dinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtatara Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Good morning, dear devotees. Sincerely beg the blessings of all the assembled devotees, especially senior devotees, Adi Purushru and others. And yes, we pray that we can, purify ourselves by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam and uplift all of the listeners to come closer to pure devotional service to Shri Radha and Krishna. Okay, great. Just pulled up this great article and we're ready to go. So basically, what this verse is saying is seemingly improper behavior of the gopis. So in the purport, it's explaining how the gopis' behavior is not actually improper behavior. It is completely not okay. The adulterous behavior that happens in this world. It's super abominable, and it's happening as Kali Yuga progresses, unfortunately, more and more, because material relationships are based on sense gratification of what can this person give me and how can this person fulfill my sense gratification. And relationships are also based on, this lust. And so when that's not satisfied, people are not faithful and they go to others because the relationship is based off of some romantic feeling. And then if they have, some time where they don't feel that romantic feeling, then they want to go find that romantic feeling somewhere else. And they're not faithful. And that is extremely abominable behavior. But the gopis is not like that. It's saying in the purport that one who gives up everything for the sake of serving Krishna, for the sake of having Krishna as their husband, as their lover, as their life and soul, as their everything, then that is actually an exalted position. And as Mahatma Prabhu nicely answered one of the questions yesterday, I think it was Ishwari Sundari who asked the question, that the husbands were also devotees of Krishna. So when you're devotees of Krishna, you simply actually want your spouse to advance in Krishna consciousness and to love Krishna. So when you see your spouse loving Krishna more, that actually makes you very happy. And we'll get more into that in a little bit. So in that sense, they actually also weren't doing a disservice to their husbands, because sometimes we could think, oh, they're doing such a disservice to their husbands, right, and children, but they're on such a high level that that Krishna is their Lord. Now, we're going to talk about their simplicity, but I just want to also make a comment that we cannot imitate the gopis. And we're going to talk more about marriage and Krishna consciousness today. But one can't take the actions of the gopis as an excuse if they're in a nice marriage in Krishna consciousness, to abandon their husband and abandon their children and not take care of them. Because as it was explained by Prabhupada, I have quotes of Prabhupada and quotes of Radhanath Swami. When you're in a Krishna conscious marriage, actually you understand, and Radhanath Swami says this in every marriage lecture, that Krishna accepts your service by the way that you serve your spouse, because your spouse is a devotee of Krishna. So a lot of devotees in the early days of the movement made a really huge mistake. They were sincere, of course, but they had the misunderstanding, and they often didn't take care of their spouse, didn't take care of their children for the sake of, Sankirtan and going out and distributing books. And unfortunately, what that created was, although, again, they were coming from a sincere place of wanting to serve Krishna, that unfortunately created a lot of trauma and even abuse for the children in the movement, who a lot of them didn't stay in Krishna consciousness. So it's such a beautiful service, actually, to have a beautiful family in Krishna consciousness and raise children in Krishna consciousness who see their parents happy in Krishna consciousness and loving each other, and then they're inspired to become devotees and stay devotees themselves. And then they become extremely powerful devotees who are able to spread Krishna consciousness in a very, very, very beautiful way. I mean, we can think of even so many of the people at Bhakti Center, or who've been involved with Bhakti Center, people like Gauravani, Virabhadra, Jahnavi, Dhyana, Shrama. These are all people who grew up in the movement, and look at the depth of Krishna consciousness that they have and the way that they're able to spread Krishna consciousness in such a powerful way by being given that love. And Radhanath Swami has actually told mothers that their first and most primary service is to be a mother for their children. And he actually told Harinam, a very senior disciple of Radhanath Swami, that even if she never came to the temple again because she was so busy serving her children, that he would not be upset. He would actually be happy. And Prabhupada also said that to mothers, if your deity worship is getting in the way of your child worship, you should give up your deity worship and focus on serving your children, because your children are your deities. So we'll get more into that in a little bit, but talking about the gopis, it's okay to be simple. It's actually glorified to be simple. Krishna consciousness is simple for the simple and complicated for the complicated. Prabhupada actually wanted us to be simple. So one service is not better than another. Sometimes we make the mistake of devotees of thinking that like there's some, like elite devotees, or I've even heard people use the term like big devotees. And I remember when I heard that, I was like, that's disgusting. What does that mean? There's no big or small devotees. There's no elite devotees or normal devotees. Being in some position of management or authority in the society doesn't make you a better devotee than the person who's cleaning the bathrooms. Everything is equal in Krishna's eyes. And actually, if the person who's cleaning the bathrooms is cleaning the bathrooms with more love and more bhakti and more sincerity than the person who's the temple president, then actually the person who's cleaning the bathrooms is more advanced in devotional service. So, we really have to be conscious of that it's not the externals that make someone an advanced devotee. It's actually the simplicity of the heart and the level of devotion. We were getting references for someone yesterday applying to the ashram, and the reference was saying, this person's not a manager type. They're an artist, like don't engage in the management. And I was like, of course, no problem. Like everybody has different propensities. And when you engage those propensities in Krishna's service, that's the perfection of life. So simplicity of heart is actually required to be able to call out to Krishna and to advance. So what does it mean to be simple? It means to not have ulterior motives. And this facilitates perfection. It means to be like the gopis in the fact that they're one-pointed. They don't have any ulterior motives. They don't want anything for themselves. All they want is Krishna to be happy. If we are sincere, and so just a little bit more on simplicity. We really have to just take shelter of the process. Sometimes we can become mental, about over analyzing the process, and thinking we have to be someone other than ourselves to practice the process. But Krishna consciousness is actually just really simple. Take shelter of the practice, chant our rounds, hear about Krishna, read, be in Sangha with devotees, do whatever service we can offer with our hearts. And that's beautiful and that's perfect. And that's enough. And always be inspired in our service. And check ourselves, look at our false ego and, ask ourselves, what is my motivation? Why am I doing this? Do I want to be seen by others doing this service? Do I want to be glorified for doing this service? Or am I doing this service simply as an offering to Guru and Krishna from my heart? And if we are sincere in our worship, the Lord offers his benediction to us, even if we don't really know what we're doing. So if we're just sincere, the Lord, we can have full faith and conviction that the Lord will give us pure devotional service. The Lord will lift us up. One time someone was asking Radhanath Swami about like realizing our swarup, our spiritual form. And he was speaking about Uddhava. And Uddhava, he came to Vrindavan, and he was so blown away by the devotion of the residents of Vrindavan that he just prayed to be a blade of grass so that the residents of Vrindavan could walk on him. He wasn't praying to be a gopi. So Radhanaswami said that we should just focus on being the servant of the servant of the servant in Lord Chaitanya's mission. And Lord Chaitanya will pick us up and place us where he wants us to be in Radha and Krishna's pastimes. So I actually wrote a poem about simplicity and being absorbed in the Lord and unalloyed devotion, like the gopis who have left everything to focus exclusively on the Lord. And I'm going to read it for you all. I wrote this yesterday. In this world, husband and wife must be faithful to each other. It is abominable to not be grateful for your spouse and look to another. To not be chaste spoils the character by this improper behavior. But the gopis are not tinged by material lust. They simply look to their savior. Krishna is their heart and soul, their life, their everything. They are willing to leave behind the world when Krishna's flute sings. They are simple in heart, with pleasing Krishna as their only goal. Dear devotees, pleasing Krishna is the only way to make your soul whole. Wanting nothing for themselves, they achieved unalloyed devotion for the Lord. Krishna's smiling face is the only thing they adored. This simplicity of heart is required to develop love of God. If we involve our false ego, which wants something for ourselves, our devotion becomes flawed. Prabhupada said bhakti is simple for the simple and complicated for the complicated. If we think it needs to be complicated, our bhakti becomes weighted. All we have to do is strive to be more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree, and willing to give respect to others instead of demanding it from me. In this mood, we can chant the holy names of the Lord constantly. Remembering the Lord at every moment will fulfill the Lord's prophecy that if we remember him, at the time of death, we will come to him, to eternally serve him and in his love swim. Dear devotees, remember that the heart of bhakti is chanting and hearing, and in our service to Guru and Krishna, persevering. But be simple in heart and surrender to Krishna's desire, which may be different than the service we thought would bring us higher. For it is more important to make devotees happy than to achieve a project's goals, because Krishna's first goal is always to take care of beloved souls. So give up all ego and be simple like the cowherd girls. Then your offerings of service will be like giving Krishna a necklace of pearls. Please know that Krishna should be the most dear to everyone's heart, and he never from your heart will depart. So that is my poem. And now I actually wanted to talk a little bit more, since the purport, kinds of brings this up of this is part of the Lord's pastimes, the gopis, of showing us the willingness to leave everything and being ultimately attached to the Lord, and keeping the Lord as most dear in the heart. But like I was saying earlier, it's very important to have the proper understanding of what marriage is in Krishna consciousness, and how the Grihastha ashram, which is an ashram, which also has been said by Prabhupada, the wife is like a fortress protecting the husband from Maya. When we have a proper Grihastha ashram, the purpose of marriage, this is a quote from Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, purpose of marriage is to be happy. And Prabhupada also said, be happy in Krishna consciousness. And the purpose of marriage is to actually create a foundation, a structure, a support system where our mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual needs can be satisfied in a healthy, way so that our mind can be peaceful and we can focus on our devotional service and we can advance in Krishna consciousness. And through basically like engaging with material desires, ultimately become detached from those material desires and make Krishna our only attachment. It's kind of like you have to go through it. You have to go through the purification. Because if you try to just reject that and suppress that, you'll actually become very frustrated. And that's why sometimes brahmacharis fall down, because they don't have that protection. So the purpose of a marriage in Krishna consciousness is to keep Krishna in the center. And the husband and wife are coming together to serve Krishna together and to inspire each other and to help each other in their Krishna consciousness. And like I said earlier, Krishna accepts our service through how we serve our spouse. So I remember for me, I was very clear, like, I'm not going to get married until I find someone who I feel so much trust in, that they're a wonderful devotee of Krishna, and that their Krishna consciousness inspires me, and their Krishna consciousness and their devotion and their character can actually teach me and help me to become a better devotee. And that, that I can follow them and serve them and be inspired to serve them because I have that faith in them. And I did wait a very long time, but Krishna sent the perfect person. And we had a darshan, my husband and I had a darshan with Radhana Swami, and my husband asked for his relationship advice on how we can best serve each other. And Radhana Swami said, quote, "Be kind and tolerant with each other, be Krishna conscious, and continue serving together." And one time we met Radhana Swami at Bhakti Center, and I was telling him how amazing my husband is. I was really glorifying my husband from my heart. And Radhana Swami said to me, "You should always feel this way." So he was instructing me to continue to have this awe and gratitude for my husband. And then he turned to my husband and he said, "And you should always act to live up to her feeling." So he was instructing him to act in the way I was seeing him. And in 1969, when Prabhupada was in New Vrindavan, he performed a marriage. And he explained how the duty of the husband and the wife were to dedicate each other to make their partner happy. Because Prabhupada said that without happiness, there cannot really be a growth of bhakti, which I find that very interesting. Sometimes we actually think maybe in suffering, I'll make more advancement in Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada is actually saying here, we should be happy. Krishna consciousness is a joyful process. And in that happiness, we can grow our bhakti. And it is actually the responsibility of the husband and the wife to keep each other happy in devotional service. And Grihastha life is designed so that by living together in a particular spiritual environment, we become completely purified and learn to become completely dependent and faithful to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada explained that the primary duty of a man is to protect his wife. This means to protect physically, emotionally, and spiritually by providing the needs of the body and the affection and respect and concern of the emotions, and by providing a spiritual example by which the wife feels confident to continue forward on the path of bhakti. And Srila Prabhupada explained the duty of the wife is to assist the husband to remain chaste and faithful to the husband, and to inspire the husband in his devotional service. And Prabhupada explained that when the husband and wife are responsible to respect one another and encourage one another in Krishna consciousness, then the house becomes Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. And there's this beautiful short article by Radhana Swami on marriage that reads, When I was about 8 years old, my parents were considering divorce. I remember my mother putting mascara on in front of a mirror, and I was sitting on her bed watching her. I thought it was a very strange thing, women putting on mascara, so I was watching. My mother said to me very seriously, "Everyone likes your father and everyone likes me, but we no longer like each other, so we are going to separate." I cried. It was very painful, just the thought of it. Some hours later, my father came home from work, and I knew my mother was going to discuss this with him. He went in the bathroom, and they closed the door. I was so disturbed that I secretly put my ear against the door to hear what they were saying. My mother told my father how much I had been crying, and I heard them both say that for the rest of their lives they would stay together because this is what was best for the children. They never separated. As the years passed, I can honestly say I never saw any two people that loved each other so much. Their love was very deep. It wasn't about romance, because romance, it comes and goes. It wasn't just about personality or having complementary views on things. It was about heart to heart, sensible responsibility to each other for a higher principle. Because they chose to go through those difficulties together for the higher principle of their love for their children, I feel God awarded them with deep affection and love for each other. So he's saying love is based on service, right? Just like when we don't have love for Krishna, we serve Krishna, and by serving Krishna, our love develops for Krishna. Similarly, when we serve our spouse, our love develops for them. And devotees sometimes have a misconception that there shouldn't be any love in marriage. No, there should be. There should be love in marriage. There should be affection. There should be attachment, actually, for the spouse and for the family and for the children. There should be healthy affection and appreciation. And that creates a healthy family unit. And without that, why be married? Beside the higher principle of children is the principle of God, the principle of our vows before the Lord to help each other to become pure, to become enlightened within our lives. That higher principle is why traditionally marriages of all different cultures involve taking vows in a spiritual place, so that the union is consecrated as a partnership in the service of the divine. What is a diamond? A diamond is the queen of all jewels. But a diamond is nothing but a piece of coal that's been under pressure for millions of years. Gold, the king of metals, is purified when it is put in fire. This is Mother Nature speaking to us. This is wisdom, that by faithfully passing through the good times and the bad times, the easy times and the hard with each other and for each other, for this higher value, then marriage has the potential to make us spiritually perfect. It will do that if we just understand the yoga of marriage. From a spiritual perspective, one should feel that their partner is something more than just my husband or my wife. A husband should feel towards his wife that this is the daughter of God. This is God's deeply beloved daughter that has been entrusted in my care. How you treat her is how God will receive you. How you speak to her, how you act toward her, how you protect her are all important. Protection is said to be on 3 levels: physical, emotional, and spiritual. To give that protection, to be forgiving to each other, and to honor your spouse as God's property, God's gift, is how you will make spiritual progress. And a wife should feel that her partner is not just her husband, but he is God's beloved child, entrusted in her care to protect, to be faithful to, and to encourage. If you see each other in this light, marriage really is yoga. Your relationship will be yoga in essence, and you will make great spiritual progress. Feelings of affection may come and go, but the foundation of a healthy relationship is respect. Respect for each other and care for each other. Through respect and care, affection can grow into deep love on the level of the soul. Physically, we care for each other by providing the basic necessities of life. Depending on the particular nature of your occupation and relationship, one must provide housing, clothing, healthcare, and other physical needs. But emotional care is very essential. Lack of emotional care can really send a marriage off track. Everyone needs appreciation and everyone needs encouragement. So many ladies come to me and say, my husband just doesn't care about me. He doesn't like anything I do. When I go to the husband, I ask, do you care about her? And he will say, yes, of course. I'll ask, do you like what she does? Yes, I love what she does. Do you ever tell her? And he will say, why should I tell her? She should know. Communication is so important. Sometimes in a marriage, we communicate with everybody except the person we are living with. Communication, honest communication where we really do express our appreciation for each other, express our affection for each other, and express it in such a way that we encourage each other is very critical for a healthy relationship. Marriage shouldn't just be something that we are tolerating somehow or other because we took vows. It should be something very dynamic, very flowing, and very real. It should be and very connected to the divine so that the struggles are not just depressing. The struggles are spiritual challenges that we have to meet together. And every time we overcome those challenges, we come to a higher spiritual platform. By following marriage in this way, it becomes a path of perfection. So I read like so many articles yesterday, but that one I thought would be really nice to share with you all. So I'm done. We have some time now for questions, comments, reflections. We can open it up. I see that Gautam has their hand raised. Do you have something, Alan? Yeah. Okay. We're gonna have Alan ask a question, and then Gautam, and then Ishwari Sundari. Yes, Alan.
I'm just wondering. Okay, yeah, a great class. I really love what you all say about Krishna marriage. What happens when you get one spouse who gets into devotion, the other one doesn't? Now, at that point, should they end it in the name of devotion, end their relationship, or should they just tolerate each other? How should that work out?
Thank you.
Because that's a real thing that I know with some people.
Yeah, thank you very much. Kind of like the situation where they're already married and then one person gets into bhakti and the other person doesn't. You know, it's a very case by case basis and it's not black and white. And it really depends on the individual couple, and it's ultimately up to that couple to make a decision. It's not a problem if one person comes to Krishna consciousness and the other one doesn't, as long as the partner that doesn't come to Krishna consciousness is supportive of the partner who does come to Krishna consciousness. Even if you're, you know, if you love each other and you've had a beautiful relationship, if your partner supports you in your bhakti and doesn't stop you from doing your bhakti, then it's not a problem. That relationship can continue and can be super beautiful. I know many couples who one's a devotee and the other is not, but they have such a beautiful, like, gosh, Jamuna Jaya is on this call. Their marriage is like the perfect example. Jamuna Jaya can speak to this. Like, her husband's not a devotee, but he's such a jewel of a person. He's such an amazing person. And he's literally like, to be quite honest, he probably supports her and her bhakti than some husbands who are devotees support.
True that. Absolutely.
Is like, he's like her biggest cheerleader. Like, everything she tells me about him, I'm just like, oh
he's a devotee.
like,
Everybody's a devotee, including
he like
Jamuna.
will do her laundry and like iron her saris and be like, go do your pujari service, and just like lets her like run around doing, like Baba says, my wife supports me fully in this. Like, it can be in some ways, because again, sometimes devotees like actually make a lot of mistakes in marriage, and there's actually even more divorces in ISKCON than there are outside of ISKCON, because some people think like, oh, like there shouldn't be like affection, like, you know, we should just like you know, we just do service together, but there's no relationship outside of that. So sometimes it can actually be like a more healthy marriage, like what Jamuna Jaya has, you know. But the only time it's a problem is when Damodar Priya says, yes, there are a lot of mixed marriages, religion and spiritual wise, that thrive. Yeah. And there's people in different traditions. So basically, it's only a problem if the spouse that doesn't practice Krishna consciousness stops the spouse that wants to practice Krishna consciousness from practicing Krishna consciousness. And then it's a very personal decision. Like, some people, I know some wives that just like continue to serve their husband anyways. And they see that as their service to Krishna. And then other people, they feel like, this is not something that I can do, and it's not healthy for my Krishna consciousness. So we need to separate. So it's a very personal decision. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. I don't see I just see Ishwari Sundari's hand raised now. So please, Ishwari Sundari.
Hare Krishna. I want to start by saying
I
you
can't
look
hear
glowing.
you.
We can hear her, Ishwari Sundari. We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Champakalata?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to start out by saying that you look very beautiful and glowing this morning.
Oh, thank you. You always do.
Thank you. You're always beautiful anyway. A reflection to yesterday's topic and conversation that started today's, and that's about, the gopis giving Krishna a kiss, and do the husbands get jealous? And then the response for Mahatma Das was just, what I needed to hear. And it helped me to reflect longer on that. And then it was so simple afterwards. Just the fact that, you're having this loving exchange with Krishna, and anybody that's related to then that person is also getting that loving exchange. So you're bringing that with you to your children, to your husband, to your parents, to everyone that you're associated with. It's like doing service, at the temple and spending all that time with the deities, even though, like, for example, Jamuna Jaya's husband, Jimmy, is not a devotee. He is a devotee because she's bringing that love that she has for Krishna to him. So this is my extended reflection after class yesterday and into today's. And then I just have one simple question, and that's about simplicity. How do we maintain simplicity? For example, I'm in Times Square right now, and I'm going to, an office, and I'm working with, very wealthy people and stuff like that. And they're wonderful people. I think in a way they're devotees too, because they're just so amazing. But it's hard to keep simplicity in an office. So simplicity is by focusing on Krishna. But how do you focus on Krishna at work? Do you focus on everybody that you're serving there, like my employer, and they're Krishna also, they're part of Krishna? Or do I reflect on it in my own personal practice while I'm working? So I'm always confused about that.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful question. Thank you so much, Ishwari Sundari, for your beautiful heart and your simplicity and your love and friendship. It's both, we can do things while we're at work to keep our consciousness Krishna conscious. I don't know what your situation is, but if you have a cubicle, you can put pictures of Krishna, on your computer and in your cubicle, and play kirtan, on headphones while you work, and just be thinking about Krishna. But if your job is also such where you can't, be like really thinking about Krishna, you have to be thinking about what you're doing then, and every interaction you have with the people that you're working with. Yeah, the soul of Krishna. You see Krishna in their heart, and you understand that Krishna accepts your service by how you treat them. So you should do the very best at your job. You should be the very best person you can be. You should show kindness to all the people that you're working with. And actually that kindness will open their hearts to bhakti, because even if they appreciate you, who's a devotee of Krishna, they will make spiritual advancement, and Krishna will eventually give them bhakti. You can also give them prasadam, and ultimately at the end of the day, just having the simplicity of heart that I'm doing this job for you, Krishna, and offering the results to Krishna. That is simplicity.
Offer all the water in the water cooler to Krishna.
I just want to, thank you so much. And I also Ananda Manjari wrote a really beautiful thing in the chat. She said, I also want to bring the other side, that the spouse who becomes a devotee can step into the fanaticism and become so cold in the connection, and they begin to judge their spouse for not practicing, neglecting them. That's also something that does sometimes happen. Where that's a danger. So if someone does become a devotee, they have to actually treat their spouse and their family with more love. Like the last thing I'll say, the conch is about to blow. I one time had a dream when I was staying at home with my family, and Radhanath Swami instructed me in my dream, similarly to how like in your heart, like a secret lover, and keep Krishna in your heart like a secret lover, and serve your family even better. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for your wonderful questions, reflections. It's darshan time. Turn on your cameras. Put on your mascara if you have to. Thank you. Yeah. We always start with the feet. Okay, they bowed us down. Okay, here's the final instruction. I take the audacity to give the final instruction. Do not come to your spouse or your child or your friend and say, I'm not your father. I'm not your spouse. You're not my mother. It's not about that. Srila Prabhupada wanted us to be perfect ladies and gentlemen and add Krishna to that. Right, Jamunajaya? Good. Jamunajaya is endorsing this final instruction.
Thank you for glorifying my husband so much today. It made me so happy.
Yeah, he's such a funny guy, your husband. I love him.
He's amazing. He's Krishna's greatest gift to me in every single way.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, have a wonderful day. Play in the snow, be childlike, and add Krishna to that. What the heck? Nothing is ours. It's true. You're not the body, but that's not what Krishna consciousness is all about. It's about adding Krishna to where you're at. No matter how small your cubicle is, Ishwari Sundari, you can always add Krishna to that. And like we said, offer all the water in the water cooler to Krishna. And this way you'll benefit them, your wealthy co-workers, or whoever they may be. Okay? Hare Krishna. Love you all. Hari Bol. Bhava, that's a wonderful question. We're going to ask somebody who knows what they're doing tomorrow, maybe. Are there males who leave everything behind to be with Krishna? That's Bhava's question. That's Bhava Prabhu's depth. So we're going to ask that question tomorrow. Okay? Hare Krishna. Nice seeing you all. Hare Krishna.